I've got to be honest about this. I thought the fight should have been stopped. He proved for the fact he went out desperately, and he got the gold nugget that time.
Hey, if you're in desperate straits, fight desperately. That's something Chavez didn't do last week.
This is a real champion, this Kevin Kelly. He's proven himself to me, if that means anything.
There's some unbelievable opponents for him at 130 if he goes up there. I mean, you never know if you're going to see him against Arturo Gatti or Azuma Nelson or some of those guys, but it might be fun. All right, still to come later on, the taped replay of Julio Cesar Chavez against Oscar De La Hoya. It took place last Friday night in Las Vegas. If you've been on another planet, maybe you get a fresh chance to see it without knowing what went on. But if you're one of us and you're part of the boxing world, you know about it. You just might be curious to see it either for the first time or to see it again. And we'll give you that chance following the upcoming live bout between Roy Jones Jr. and Eric Lucas, a title defense at 168 pounds that many regard as little more than a competitive exhibition for Roy Jones. He's listed in one boxing publication as a 100-to-1 favorite. Now, George, Roy Jones is telling us that he wants to play basketball because it extends him competitively and gives him some fire. He also talks a lot about his fear of being permanently damaged in the ring, his fear of injury in there. What does all that tell us about him as a fighter?
Well, he's trying to protect himself, like most fighters. We've seen a lot of tragedies in the last decade. Fighters being killed, knocked unconscious, into comas. So he's a little protective, and that's the way he fights. He doesn't like to be hit, but he can hit hard also. So if he keeps that up and fight the right opponents, he believes he can make enough money to avoid being punished.
Yeah, but if he continues to fight against guys like Eric Lucas and does not fight the bigger name people that at least those of us within the boxing fraternity would like to see him fight, what does he do to his chance to be seen as a great one, to make a mark on history, etc.?
Well, you got to be really kind of honest about it. A lot of this has to do with business. He's trying to do his own business, and he's trying to negotiate on the same time. And we, even HBO, we stay in negotiation with him, so it's kind of unfair. He's not here to speak for himself on his behalf. He would tell you opposite. He's fighting the #1 contender. He continues to fight #1 contenders. What more can you ask of a guy?
And he's still regarded by most publications as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. So what, in effect, is he giving up? Well, that remains to be seen as time goes by. Larry Merchant, what's your take on why the most gifted fighter on the planet in the eyes of many, Roy Jones, is fighting a guy so ungifted as Eric Lucas?
Basically because he can get away with it, Jim, and I'm not so sure anymore when he fights this class of competition that he belongs on any pound-for-pound list except maybe pound-for-pound businessman. The deal is this: when a fighter is a star and can get a multi-fight contract, he can take the path of least resistance, which Mike Tyson has been doing recently, or he can do what Pernell Whitaker and Oscar De La Hoya have been doing, which is to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, and build toward the mega buck fights that he wants down the road. By playing basketball, he thinks that somehow he can even out this competition tonight, but he would have to go in the ring in leg irons and handcuffs and a blindfold to do that, I'm afraid, Jim.
It's only within the past few months, Larry, that Roy Jones has been subjected to criticism in public quarters for his choice of opponents. And he himself has begun to defend his choice of opponents. It sets up a lively debate. Here are the parameters.
Left hook, and down goes Tony. Jones backing Bird into the corner with an early flurry punctuated by the right hand. Orton in trouble. Can't punch back. Right hand flash, and down goes Sosa.
Roy Jones, the IBF super middleweight champion, is widely identified now as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. A few Jones supporters even liken him to Muhammad Ali or Sugar Ray Robinson. And while Jones may have the skills for such comparisons, what he lacks so far are the opponents. The super middleweight division is a dry well without any truly credible opposition, which leaves Roy Jones bored, unchallenged, and he says frustrated.
Well, I have a lucrative career in boxing, but do I have a lucrative opponent in boxing? No. You know, everybody in my weight class is basically unknown. Nigel Benn was the only other guy left, and he went and fought through Lonnie Malinga, a guy whom I knocked out in 6 rounds.
The course of boxing history shows it takes more than great skills to make an immortal. It takes great opponents, those who will test and retest a fighter. Willie Pep, for instance, had Sandy Sadler. Sugar Ray Leonard had Tommy Hearns and Roberto Duran. Muhammad Ali fought wars with Smokin' Joe Frazier. So can fighting easy fights against unknown opposition secure Roy Jones a ranking among the all-time greats?
I think he would rather be in an era where he had some opponents like Sugar Ray Leonard and Hearns and Roberto Duran and Hagler, and that brings excitement. If Roy was in a situation like that, I think it'll be lovely, and I think he would love that. But unfortunately, you can't get blood out of a turnip.
But there are those who now think Jones is a reluctant warrior, more unwilling than unchallenged. That there are, in fact, opponents more credible than Eric Lucas, who could test Roy Jones.
Well, I know for a fact he's bypassed fights with people like Charles Brewer and Virgil Hill, who are guys that he should beat, but he didn't want to fight them. I mean, in this particular case, there were a lot of better opponents than Eric Lucas that he wanted to fight, but he chose him.
He is an insult to his sport. He's an insult to his own talent. I can't vote for him in good conscience over a guy like Pernell Whitaker, who will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, at any weight.
It doesn't do any good for him to beat an opponent like this. It's like the Cleveland Indians beating the local Little League team 357-0. I mean, it accomplishes nothing.
I'll fight anybody in my division, anybody in the division under me, anybody in the next division, anybody 2 divisions ahead of me, anybody 3 divisions ahead of me. Pay me and I will perform, and I will go out there and perform to the best of my ability.
Jones is being paid millions of dollars per fight, even against weak opponents. But his unwillingness to face tougher fighters is in some ways understandable. He sat ringside for Gabe Ruelas' fight against Jimmy Garcia, after which Garcia died.
That really ruined me, and it was like, man, I don't want to end up that way after I get out of boxing. And I'm not going to end up brain dead and where people have to walk me around, and then I don't even have the money to pay for it.
So for now, Jones has turned to a safer sport, playing guard for the United States Basketball League's Jacksonville Barracudas.
I'm going to stick with boxing probably another 1.5 to 2 years, and because that's my livelihood. I've got so many years tied into boxing, and at the same time, I plan to start bettering myself at basketball, and if I want to try to pick that up later on, then maybe I will.
Refusing to take risks without astronomical monetary gain may make sense to Jones. But for boxing fans, it just doesn't seem sporting. Whether unchallenged or unwilling, it appears we may have to wait a while for Roy Jones to truly test himself in the ring.
And as we bring it back live to Jacksonville, you look at the tail of the tape. Eric Lucas, similar in size to Roy Jones, and there the similarities end. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Roy Jones-Eric Lucas fight is scheduled for 12 rounds. There is no standing 8 count. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
And we get ready for the entrance into the ring of... Well, I'm not sure that I should even try for a build-up.
Lucas is a tough kid out of Montreal, a former amateur teammate of Arturo Gatti.
Hockey fan, hockey player, who acknowledged to us that never in his life has he even attempted to play hockey on the same day as a workout in the boxing ring, much less play a game of hockey and then fight a title fight.
What do you think, Jim, they would be saying if Michael Jordan elected to play a baseball game on the afternoon of an NBA championship game? And by the way, the championship game was against a local high school.
Yeah, Well, they'd be saying some of the same stuff they're saying about this. And you saw Lucas's record 19-2-2. You also saw the graphic as he was walking into the ring that indicated in Canada he's 18-0-1. Outside of Canada, he's 1-2-1. And we go from AC/DC to an actual Roy Jones hip-hop composition. Among his many interests, Roy is grooming himself as a rap music artist and spends time practicing that every day also.